Did you see that? Anyone? Of course not. Okay, then. One more time. Tally, not now. I'm trying to protect us from this Philistine. Whoa. No, not that way. Come on. Back to your mom. Right, Philistine. Oh, wait! Right between the eyes. Oh, of course. That one you saw. Tally! Tally, no! I'm coming, girl! Whoa, easy! Shira! I will bring her home safely. Whoa! Tally, wait, no! There you go. I'm almost through. Okay. Oh! Tally, stop! No! Oh, that doesn't help. That does. Stop. Thank you. Yena haleni nafshi yeshobeh yancheni b'mgalet tzedek leman shemo.
What you have just watched is a concept short or a musical animated feature film on the story of David, and our vision is to tell it in the same quality as movies like Tangled and Frozen. This is more than a movie. This is a movement to join people from all over the world to try and make the world's most watched animated theatrical release.
You can help us make this film by going to angel.com/David to invest today.
Growing up in the wild of Africa was the most incredible experience. And it was there that I bumped into the most amazing character of God and fell in love with him. At the same time, I was reading David's story, and it just really struck me.
On one particular canoe trip on the Zambezi River where you could canoe for days and not see a human being, I was reading the scriptures and I read, "I found in David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart." And I thought how amazing it would be to do a film that would give people all over the world a glimpse into God's heart.
We grew up on a farm that had no electricity. I only saw my first film when I was 14 years old, and it was such an electric experience. I was blown away by the power of film and the power of story to connect with people and move people. And from that day, I became passionate to tell a story on the life of David. The question is, can a group of farmers from Africa make a global hit that's going to reach the world? This is in and of itself an incredible David versus Goliath story.
There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And in order to tell a story as big as David, we need people from all around the world to come together.
Over the last 20 years, Jackie and I have just been blown away by how God has miraculously drawn talent to us. Now we have the most awesome, high-quality team.
Like Nathan Stanton, who spent 22 years at Pixar, Borja Montoro, a Disney animation alumni, other talent from massive films like Big Hero 6, Tangled, Finding Nemo, Zootopia, Moana, Prince of Egypt, and many more.
Our first breakout hit is Jungle Beat, an incredible and beautiful show. On our YouTube channel, we get over 2 billion views a year. We've got 7 million subscribers. We also recently released our first animated feature film called Jungle Beat the Movie. And incredibly, it was on Netflix's top 10 for over 2 weeks, both live action and animated feature films in the US. We are also doing a theatrical release of Jungle Beat the Movie in China later this year, and are in production of Jungle Beat the Movie 2. What really excites me is if you take Jungle Beat the Movie, we produced that for $5 million. And I'd really encourage you to go and watch it on Netflix to see the quality of movie we produced for that price. And just imagine the quality of movie we could produce on David with the proper budget. With David, we considered the route of engaging with Hollywood, and there is significant interest down that route. But we really felt that from a creative point of view, we need to stay the head and not the tail of this project. And it's a slingshot, like David went with a slingshot to fight Goliath. We really believe that the strategy needs to be outside the Hollywood system for it to work. In this vein, we are thrilled to be working with Angel Studios for distribution. Angel Studios did the TV series The Chosen, which has become the world's biggest TV series on the life of Jesus Christ. The Chosen has generated hundreds of millions of views and tens of millions of dollars. We've already got $19 million of investments and need another $35 million to complete this project. We need your help to bring God's heart to the world through the story of David.
Go to angel.com/David to invest in this film today.
And let's join together to try and make the world's most watched animated theatrical release.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this live stream. I'm so thrilled that you're joining me, and I'm so excited about tonight's live stream because boy do I have a guest for you. I'm really excited to talk with him. I know a little bit about him, so we'll see how much I can draw out of him. But just to give you a context of what we're doing, this is a live stream where we're trying to share with you about David, an animated feature film that we're making, and to see if you'd be interested in investing in it if we opened up a funding route. And you're welcome to express interest in investing if you'd like by going to angel.com/David, and that's where you can go. People have expressed interest up to the amount of just over $27 million so far, which is incredible. And it's just been so wonderful to see the community that is growing around this project and the excitement and what have you. And I can't wait to share what's coming in the live stream with you, because I think it's going to really take you to the heart of what we're doing here. So just a couple of housekeeping things. Please do like and share and comment so that we can get the word out to as many people as possible. We're going to be answering questions at the end, so if you've got any questions, please do send them through. I'm going to answer one question now, which I know is going to come. The movie will be releasing in 2025. That's a question that's asked every week, and it's likely to be asked again, and we'll answer it again at the end of the live stream. But animation takes a long time, and we've been working very hard at the project, and we're making great strides. But we've got a long way to go, and this is just such a wonderful way for us to keep you in the loop on the journey, where we are and what's going on. So my guest tonight, it's going to take a little while for me to actually bring him on screen because I want to sort of tee it up a little bit more. But my guest tonight is none other than the legendary Phil Cunningham, who is co-director on David and who is the founder of Sunrise Animation Studios, along with his wife Jackie, and who's also actually just sitting upstairs from me. So I get to see him every day, and we were just chatting, but I actually am still excited to chat with him now because we haven't had a chat like this for a long time. And I also want to just thank Phil for trusting me, because he doesn't know what we're going to talk about. I said, Phil, just come on, I want to interview you because I really want to introduce people to you, the sort of the man behind the studio and the visionary behind the project. As you walk into our studio, there is a mission statement on our wall, 3 words. Mission statement might not be the right thing, but it's inspire through story. That is at the heart of what Sunrise Animation Studios wants to do. We want to tell stories that inspire. But not only that, when Phil and Jackie came up with that phrase, Jackie was clear. She said, we want to inspire through stories that we tell, yes, but also the stories of each person that comes through this door can also inspire. It's not just about the stories that we tell, it's about the stories that we live. And so I thought, what better way to sort of get to the heart of the studio and the project than to hear Phil's story. And believe me, it will inspire you. If you ask people who know Phil, they will say that he's actually a lot like David, where he is not afraid to face any giants, and we're going to talk about some of those this evening. It's just an amazing man, actually after God's own heart as well, much like David was. And Phil and Jackie, as the founders and owners of the studio, are the most inspirational people. Phil has a thing. Phil has a want, by the way, to steal lots of people's quotes, but he always does give them credit. I think it's the Michael Dell one where Michael Dell says, always employ people who are smarter than yourself. So my first question to Phil tonight is going to be, so Phil, how am I smarter than you? I'm joking. I'm going to turn that around and say, always be employed by someone better than yourself. Because then when you come to work, you know that you're in good hands, that you're in safe hands. You're in the hands of someone who cares about you, that isn't there for, obviously they're trying to fulfill a goal and reach a mission, but not at the expense of people. And that's just been the most wonderful thing, having sat under Phil and Jackie for the last 22 years, is there for people is absolutely sincere and genuine. I have felt it in my personal life. I have witnessed it as they talk to other people, and it'll be a common thread. And a couple of weeks ago, I did a live stream where, if you haven't watched it, it'll be on YouTube. I'll describe it. But there was a moment I've started to feel that as we are building a community and asking for people to express interest in investing and actually literally invest in this project, you are becoming partners with us. Yes, we're at the front of the spear, we're at the spearhead, we're doing the work. But I just love the fact that there's a community that is building, that is passionate about the project. And what I did a couple of weeks ago was just a video of me taking you all up for a walk up the mountain just behind the studio and just having a chat with you, because that's what we would do if someone came and visited the studio. And likewise, I was thinking, we were doing a live stream with Phil tonight, and I was like, what would Phil do if he was meeting you for the first time? And he would take you for coffee and he would find out your story. And you'd find out your story first. He wouldn't be thinking, what can you do for him? He would be genuinely interested to find out about you. And if there wasn't anything that came of it on a work front, he would just be glad to have met you. He is absolutely, and Jackie is, fundamentally and at heart a people person. And one thing that I want to show before I invite Phil on is, I knew we were doing this live stream and I was trying to think, how can I portray, how can I let people know more about this man, and in an authentic way. You know, it's tricky with media, I can say all sorts of things, but I thought, let me actually capture him in action. We have so I didn't tell him I was going to do this, and the footage is not going to be fantastic, so please bear with that. Every Monday we do an all hands on deck meeting where everyone gathers, everyone that's local gathers in the cinema, and those who are remote log in as well. And Phil starts off just with something inspirational or a thought for the week. And I just did this week's. So this was on Monday. I took my phone out and I just filmed it. And I think it's about 2.5 minutes. The sound should be good enough, but we're in a dark cinema. But it'll give you a sense of the truth of who I'm talking about. So guys and Angel, if you could share that video with us, and then I'll chat to you again before we bring Phil on.
Anyway, let's go into our thing. And just, you guys are seeing this a lot, but I want to keep putting it up. And it's our acronym, Let's Go, which again I just love because it's like, let's do it, let's go. It's got that positivity to it. But we've done Live Courageously, Explore Creativity, we've done Turn Up the Fun, we've done, and then Seek Out Humility we did last week. And then this week I wanted to focus on the generous heart of family. I just want to say generosity is one of the most beautiful things that you can find in the world. It's just, if there's one thing I really love, it's generosity. And I think often Jack and I are just chatting on the weekend, and so often people think about generosity as a thing where you're giving money, and that is a way to be generous. But what I really wanted to share today is there are so many ways to be generous. And generosity of your time, your kindness. When you get to the toll gate, you might never see that person again. Do you give them a smile and actually pass them your money and engage? Or you get to a coffee shop where you're maybe never going to see that person again. Like, how generous are you with your kindness and your joy? And generosity can be a smile, like just giving somebody a smile and some positivity in the day. You don't have to have a lot of money to be generous. In fact, ironically, if you travel up through Africa, through the most rural areas, I find that's some of the most generous people in the world. Actually, some of the most wealthy people in the world are the least generous people in the world. So generosity's got nothing to do with having a lot of money. It's got everything to do with what's in your heart and how you give to the world around you. The beautiful thing about generosity, you don't do it to get, but ironically, if you do give freely, you actually receive so much back. It's almost like, I found generosity is a bit like gravity. Gravity is a real thing. If you jump up, you will come down. If you are generous, you actually will get back in incredible ways that you can't even anticipate. And generosity is just like the oil in the wheels. In an organization, in a company like this, if generosity flows, the cogs move. And even if someone's different to you or they grate you, if you can be generous to them, I was thinking about your husband, your wife, your partner, apply generosity into those relationships and you'll be amazed at how that just expands that relationship.
Cool guy, hey? So just before I bring him on, I just want to remind you to go to angel.com/David to express interest in investing in the project. And the last thing I want to say before bringing Phil on is we get a lot of comments in social media, which is managed amazingly by Kerry, who's our marketing manager. And she gets all sorts of questions, and a lot of in the questions and the comments there's a they that is spoken about. You know, I hope they do this, I hope they do that. When they make the movie, I hope this and that. There is a person behind the they, and there are a number of people behind the they. And I just thought how wonderful for you to meet the they. They's name is Phil. And for you to really get a sense of his heart so that you can actually genuinely trust that this project that we're putting together is incredibly well-intentioned, and we're doing all we can to make an incredible animated feature just to inspire people and to share with the world. So, now that I've built him up so incredibly, Phil, join me. Come onto screen. There he is.
Yo, Brent.
How's it?
After that intro, it's going to be downhill from here.
I know. Yeah, but I'm going to get it all in before you come on. But no, it's not, because absolutely your story inspires, Phil. It's from the day that I met you guys, I actually feel teary before we even started talking, because you've inspired me in so many ways. Work-wise, personally, you know, living expansively, living courageously. But I want to start with something that I find quite amazing, that you're probably the most courageous person that I know, who actually lives, like, does what they say they're going to do and faces the fears in front of them. But you weren't always like that. I think you always had a faith, but I know you told the story that when you were a kid, you actually weren't like that. So tell us what you're like when you were a kid, and what happened. What actually happened that changed you?
No, that's amazing. Brent, thanks for the amazing intro. But quickly to dive in, when I was a kid, I was literally the most fearful little boy. My parents could not let me sleep out. I was afraid of everything. I was scared of everything, and just lived with so much fear, and which was strange because I grew up in a beautiful family, beautiful outdoor life. My brothers and sisters were all courageous, and I just, for some reason, had fear in my life when I was little. And then I can remember one day, I was like maybe 10 years old, and I was just sitting reading the Bible, and I can remember it distinctly. And I was reading from Isaiah 43, and I literally read the words, "Do not fear." And at that moment, I always believed in God, but I had this most incredible encounter with God at that moment, and could literally just feel God's Spirit flow into me, and just fear just washed out. And the amazing thing, Brent, after that, I walked out. It was like night and day. And literally, we grew up in a very outdoor world. And after that, I was the bravest, like as we grew up through our teenage years, no one, and this was not a macho thing. It wasn't me being like a macho guy. It was, I knew where it came from. Back to that when I was 10 years old. But through my teenage years, I would literally go spearfishing. There'd be crocodiles on the bank. I'd like shoo them off the bank and dive into the Zambezi River with crocodiles. If there was a lion charge, I was not afraid of it. When we did cliff jumping, I could jump off the highest cliff that nobody else would have the courage to dive off. But it was, I knew where it was coming from, and I knew where I came from, and that experience I had. And yeah, Brent, just to quickly say, I once had a dream, and it was about when Jesus turned water into wine at the wedding of Canaan. And I know in my heart that's what happened that day. When God connected with me, just fear just melted away. And there's one other beautiful verse I just want to say. In 1 John, it says, "In perfect love, there is no fear." And as I connected with God that day, I felt fear just wash away. And maybe you're going to get there in the questions, so I'll just say very quickly, that led me towards my love of reading David's story and adventure as I grew up as a teenager living in the wild outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. And one thing, because I'm going to put the specific of your story there. Phil was on the toilet at the time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
When you read that, and yeah, which I think is fantastic. I think like the most influential moment of your life was while you were on the toilet, which I think is just wonderful. And also the reason I mentioned that is because as we're talking about David's story, as we're developing the story, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and I said to Phil, I was like, Phil, what was David's toilet moment? When was the moment that David turned on? Was he always like that, or was there a moment? But speaking back to your story, I think it's amazing that it was night and day, and that you can remember it definitively. I think that's also what helps you to remain grounded. That it didn't come from you. It wasn't your effort or anything like that. It's a switch that was turned on within you, which you've now embraced and you live with, but you don't it's not a thing that you're proud of, in and of yourself. So you've been able to sort of deal with all sorts of people with the grace to know that, okay, well, that switch is not necessarily turned on for you, so that's fine. I don't know. Yeah. And leaping forward a little bit, I love, because there's a story that I know, but I also actually want the clarity on it. So, and this is around you meeting Jackie. So you met Jackie, and how long after you met her were you engaged?
So we were friends for 18 months, but we were
yes.
Then one night I told her, I love you. And she said, "Oh, I love you too." I said, "No, I'm in love with you." And then 10 weeks later, we got engaged. Yeah, asked her to marry me. Then, sorry, 10 weeks later, we got married, not engaged.
So you got married.
In 10 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So from friends to go ahead.
No, quite a fun story because I was living in Zimbabwe. Obviously, I grew up there. She was coming to visit me to go whitewater rafting, and her dad said to her, "What's going on between you and this guy?" And she said, "No, nothing. We're just good friends." Which was true. And then she came back and said, "Dad, I want to get married in 10 weeks' time." So, yeah.
That's incredible. I love that and that also speaks to the sort of, like, I know that you like that when you go and buy a car as well. You don't. Phil's not the sort of guy that goes and does a lot of research or whatever. He goes on feel and gut, and he goes with it. And you absolutely made the right call with Jackie there, I must say, because
100%.
Yeah, because it was Jackie again. I've heard the story, but so long ago, it'll be nice for me to refresh it. Were you on honeymoon, or where were you? You were on the beach somewhere, and you were talking about your love of story, and you'd love to make a movie or whatever. And Jackie was like, "Well, then go for it." Recount that to me.
Yeah, no, Jackie is a Spartan woman of note. I'll just say, yeah, so very quickly, when I grew up at Brent, I always had this love of story. So I was always drawing cartoons and just telling stories as a youngster. When I went to university, just seeing the incredible impact of movies on the world, I was like, wow, this is amazing. But obviously in Zimbabwe, there was nothing, you were not connected to the movie industry at all. But fell in love with Jackie. I was married when I was 21. I was planning to get married when I was 30, though, because I had lots. But when I met Jackie, she messed up my plan. But as we went on, so we started our agricultural business, and it was a few years actually into that business. Well, first we worked for somebody, and we started our own business. And we were just lying on the beach one day, and I had this passion to tell, and I turned around to her and we were lying and just said, "Jax, how do you feel about making a movie?" And she's like, "Let's do it." So it was that instance. Like in that moment, we just suddenly decided we were going to get into the movie business. And of course, there was conversations and unpacking of that. But it was a clear moment we can both remember where it was very, instant. Spontaneous is the word. Where we decided, yeah, we're going to go make movies. Yeah.
And there was no messing about with that. You didn't sort of try and think, okay, so now I need to hire all these people that know what they're doing and everything. You're like, it's a little bit like Jeremy Clarkson and Top Gear and stuff. It's like making a movie. How hard can it be? Let's just go. Let's do it. You know, it's the acronym you were talking about earlier. Let's go. Like, and so you bumped into Roger Hawkins, who was the director of. Go ahead.
No, before we go to Roger, very quickly. Yeah, it's a bit, I remember my mom was an amazing person as well, and she had the saying that ships are safe in harbor, but that's not what they were built for. And so you've got to get out the harbor, and then your rudder can start to steer you. So I can remember, and she was also an amazing person. When we were teenagers, she was saying, "Phil, listen, when David was your age, he was killing Goliath, and, you know, Daniel was fighting with lions. Like, you guys should be getting going with your life." So I think we grew up on the thing of let's get out of harbor, let's start sailing, and, you know, we'll figure out which way we're going once we're out of harbor, but you're certainly not going to figure out which way you go if you just sit in harbor and you play it safe. So sail out of harbor, and then your rudder can steer you after that. Yeah.
There's actually a photo that we've got, and Angel, I'm gonna test your quick fingers. There's a photo that I've given to them which speaks to that incredibly. I think it's the Sunrise Early Studio 1 photo, to try and give you something. There's this photo here. How's that? That is so the epitome. That is so the epitome of how Sunrise started. It's you guys in a silver bathtub with a spade, and just, you know, it's you sailing. You're about to sail out. It's just, I think, just such a almost like prophetic photograph, which is just wonderful. I love it.
Wow.
And that photo was taken right at the very start of the first project that we did. But even that, the way that project, The Legend of the Sky Kingdom, came about, I thought was just such a wonderful story. Tell us how you bumped into Roger. I think you bumped into him at a bank. And by the time you walked out, you know, let me not spoil it, but go.
Yeah, no, we were both standing in a banking queue, and I was telling Roger, Jackie and I decided to go and make movies. And he was like, well, let's do it. And I'd written a book called The Legend of the Sky Kingdom. And so we said, well, we weren't even sure at that stage whether it was going to be animation or live action. But we said, let's do it. And then we decided to be animation. But we did not have the computers and the technology in Zimbabwe. And the one thing I've learned is it's a bit like that little boy who brought his loaves and fishes to Jesus. And then from there, God multiplied it. It's like, just bring what you've got. Start with what you've got. So as we looked around us in Zimbabwe, we saw this beautiful street art where they made these amazing characters out of rubbish, out of wire and copper and, you know, electric pipes and everything. And, you know, it was actually Roger's idea, and a couple of other people said, why don't we make a stop frame animation, call it Junkmation, which is like Wallace and Gromit but junk. We copy this beautiful street art, and then we'll tell a story, because that's a technology we can do. That's something we can achieve. I will say Brent actually, at the beginning of that project, took a vow that he would not cut his hair. And I don't think he quite realized how long animation took at that stage, because by the time we finished the movie, Brent had this lion manes of hair right down his back. Yeah, so
I think there's a photo of that as well.
Yeah, if there's a photo of that, that would be great to bring up. But yeah, that was there making the studio where we started to make animation and the stop frame animation. That was all done in Zimbabwe. But it was just starting to build what you've got. Getting out of harbour, yeah. Yeah,
even within that, that's Doug Lawrence there, who was he an agricultural engineer? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't know what he was,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So here's a friend of yours, agricultural engineer. Can you come and help us build the gantry rig for our camera? Roger, who you met in the bank, he was a maths teacher at the time. You know, so this was a team that you're assembling of, hey, who wants to come and be a part of this thing? It felt like just gathering a bunch of friends. Guys, we're going to make a movie. Okay, let's go. What should we do? There's Roger, who's the director, and that's Phil, way younger. And Angel, if you can go to another photo, you'll see me there with my long hair, but no stress about that. And just the most amazing project. And little did we know at the time, this was just you saying, let's go. And legitimately, if there was to be a history of animation in Africa to be written, chapter 1 would be entitled Phil Cunningham, you know, because it was the very start of, so that film became Africa's first animated feature film, which wasn't the intent, you know, we didn't even know it at the time. You just sort of had a vision and went, you know. And it was just incredible. We were just realizing that as we went. So how did you find that whole process of sort of just going and then seeing where it led?
You know, it's just one thing I learned from that experience that you referenced at the beginning, Brent. The one thing I've always loved, because of God and because of who his characters and who he is just always loved adventure. So that whole Legend of the Sky Kingdom experience was just a massive adventure. It was so much fun. We had people coming who were agricultural engineers, coming from drama. Brent himself came from, I think, the ad industry. And it was just this, in fact, it's a little bit like David. And when he was in the wilderness, everyone who's in debt, distress, or running from the law gathered to David in the wilderness. And it felt like we were just a rabble, but a very happy and very enthusiastic and very adventurous rabble, who didn't feel that anything was impossible. So, yeah, we just set out. And I remember going down to Satengi, which was a film festival in Cape Town. Yeah, and guys were like, "What? Are you making an animated feature film in Africa? That's like, we're not ready for that yet." So, but it was really not us. But go back to that. So that's why I'm glad you asked that story at the beginning. It's not about ego and look at us, not at all. It's about what I think God motivated and was moving, and that's what made me fall in love with David's story so much. Yeah.
And how much did the Legend of the Sky Kingdom actually make?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, we made this movie. It was beautiful. We won so many art awards, and we thought, this movie business is easy. You're like, how hard can this be? And then we didn't make a sense. What we learned later was the feeling going to making a movie, like the story craft, storyboarding, writing more than one draft. I mean, you know, we literally wrote one draft of the script and went straight into production. So although it was a beautiful movie art-wise, it needed storycraft. But it really was our school fees, it was our learning.
Yeah, but I've got something to say about the fact that it didn't make a cent, and it's I think a pivotal and key thing to the success of Sunrise over time. I remember there was a point where you were offered. It wasn't huge money in movie terms, but I'm sure. But at the time, it was more than nothing. I think you were offered £1 million or £4 million, something like that. And the person they were going to own it and distribute it, or something like that, or they wanted to remake certain scenes. Am I recalling that correctly? But what did you like? What made you not take that?
I think the thing that we felt at that stage is we really were passionate about story, even though we were learning about story. We wanted to hold on to creative control and really be able to tell our story and be authentic. And the one thing we didn't want to be, I traveled to Los Angeles and met a filmmaker there and got a full taste of what boardroom filmmaking is like. It's like, and we just felt we wanted to be authentic, we wanted to be real, and we wanted to be able to tell the story and not get, there's a proverb that says, borrow a slave to the lender, and we didn't want to become slave to a boardroom or a financial situation. So it was, let's stay free. And Brent, the other thing I loved about everyone who worked on that project, if they joined the project, we said to them, there's one thing, by the way, nobody's going to get a credit on this project. So there'll be no director credit, producer credit, or any other credit on this project. So again, not taking the money, and everyone who bought into that was like, it's not about fame and fortune. It's about just enjoying yourself, going on an adventure, and telling a great story. And I think that's why you're right. Although we didn't make money, it was a great foundation to build off. Yeah. I don't know if that's what you were trying to get out of that.
Yeah, no, and I'll expand a little bit more. But this photo, that was sunrise back in 2001. That was the extent of the people. There were a couple of other people at the office, but that was the crew. That's how small we were. And to think, at the moment, there's 120 people and counting.
And look at this.
But the thing that I wanted,
compared to that office, yeah, that's amazing.
I know, it's incredible. It's incredible. That's us all playing hacky sack, by the way, and that's sunrise more or less now, which is just incredible. And I think that first one funny thing about the credits. So we all were fine, no credits. So when we did the premiere of the movie, I remember everyone was watching it, and the movie ended, and it just went blank, and the audience were like very confused. we suddenly realized, oh, you kind of need to put something at the end so that people know that the movie is finished. It was just silence and then pitter-patter of clapping, and then they started clapping. It was quite funny. And they were more upset because they wanted to see our names up there. But anyway, what I wanted to get from that story was the fact that it was that early that you were able to identify that we needed to be the head and not the tail. And that is, it's so hard to be in this industry and remain that. And now that you decided that, the fact that, okay, we need to be the head and not the tail, movie making is expensive. At the time, you were funding it through the agricultural business, and you're doing really well, actually. So you're funding it yourself, and then you decided, let's get rid of all the money. Let's stop the agricultural business and focus on movies, because we're going to make money through movies, which again was just a let's go decision. And you decided, what made you move from Zim to Cape Town? What made you decide that?
That's maybe stupidity, but I'll say it. The one thing, again, Jackie's the most amazing partner along the road, because her and I were reading a saying, and it was basically, an eagle that chases two rabbits, both will get away. And as we looked at the movie business, and our agricultural business was great, and it was cash rich, and it was actually funded The Legend of the Sky Kingdom. So we didn't have to borrow or bring on investors. We funded that entirely ourselves. But we really thought, if we're really going to make a dent and make a mark and really tell stories that will hopefully inspire and change the world, it's going to take incredible focus and commitment. And a little bit different, but there's that story about the guy who went, the Spanish guy, Cortez, and he landed on shore and he burnt his ships. And there's a song that I think King and Country have done, which is called Burn the Ships. So burn the ships behind you. There's no way back. You've just got to go forward. So it's kind of like an eagle that chases two rabbits, both will get away. So we chose the movie business. We also kind of burnt our ships, so we couldn't go back again. And soon after the burning the ships, I was like, oh my goodness, what have we done? But anyway, in the short term, it felt like a big mistake. But in the long term, we moved to Cape Town, Brent, just because, Zimbabwe is the most beautiful, wonderful country. But if we were really serious about trying to create animated feature films, it was going to be hard to do in Zimbabwe, where there was constant power cuts. And you can remember we were queuing. We spent half our life queuing for fuel and electric cuts, and there just wasn't a talent there to really grow significantly. So it felt like Cape Town would be a better place to really build off and from, to really grow in the movie business. So again, it was amazing how brave everyone was just moving down to Cape Town and leaving Zimbabwe. Yeah.
And nothing like sort of getting, so like, let's go, and then getting hit with something straight away, because all the studio equipment that was shipped down was stolen, right?
Yeah, so I can't remember how many families, we all moved together, and we managed, I think there was like 8 containers where all our furniture and company computers and equipment, shipping it down to Cape Town. When we arrived there, we opened the containers, they were completely empty, except for one thing, which was a piano. I think it was too heavy to rob. It was from the Second World War, actually, somewhere in Germany. And the only thing that was left in all these containers was just this piano. And I can remember us all looking at each other, because we all had little kids as well. Like, we all had like tiny little kids. It was like, oh my goodness, what have we done? And also, you couldn't move foreign currency out of Zimbabwe, so we didn't even have cash when we arrived in Cape Town. So we had lost all our furniture, all our personal belongings, all our equipment, and it was like, oh goodness, okay. Luckily, we've got for me, we've got a good shepherd and a God who was with us, but it was certainly an adventure.
Yeah, and I really like this chat. Like, it's going so fast for me. I hope you guys out there are enjoying it, because I'm loving the chat. It's just great to sort of reminisce. Just a reminder to go to angel.com/David to express interest in the project of David. And we're going to be answering questions probably in about 10 minutes or so. So put those questions through. But Phil, there's a lot of other things that I wanted to ask, but I wanted to go to a real heart thing, and a thing that I'm going to put words in your mouth and say that this is a giant that you've had to overcome. Because I've observed you, I actually feel emotional when I talk about it, because I've seen how much you've had to carry over the years, and there have been 3 times that I can distinctly remember where the money stopped, distinctly. And I know that you've got just such a heart for people, and such a sense of responsibility for those that you're looking after, that you had to walk the road of trying to figure out, how do I navigate this, where actually all these people have believed in me, they've believed in Sunrise, and yet there's nothing to give them. Like, talk us through what that was like for you, navigating through that, and how did you actually get through that, and anything else you want to say around that?
Yeah, no, that's amazing, because I think you're right. It was, I know, because I can remember, it was 3 times where we had a brick wall. And I think what's amazing about those times is it's saying that the difference between diamond and coal is the pressure they formed under. And we've got this thing of that proverb of Jackie's, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And what we saw in those pressure moments was this beautiful diamond of a relationship network that just grew stronger. And I remember from the movie Gladiator, Brent, when they're in that one arena and they're reenacting a battle, and they're going to be outgunned totally. And Maximus says, whatever comes to those gates, we've got more chance if we stick together. And the amazing thing for me during those times was to see the incredible connection of unity and people pulling together under extreme pressure. Everyone sacrificing a lot. Some people going with, like yourself, without pay for quite a while. But just to witness...
I will talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. But just to witness, and that's where I saw the incredible power, that's way more than money, of unity. And when people really want to do something and they're unified in it, they can get through any adversity. And I think we learned so much through those times. Actually, it's like a rose bush. When you prune it, it actually comes back with more vigor. And, as we look back on those times, we're thankful for them, because I think they just taught us so much. And Brent, one thing I'll quickly say on this note is, if you look at Joseph, Moses, and David, Joseph had a dream, Moses had a calling, David had an anointing. And after all that, Joseph went into slavery, Moses went to the desert, and David went into the wilderness. But through those wilderness times, God really worked in their hearts and built a genuine humility. And I think in the movie industry, where there's so much fame and fortune, which combine them together can be super toxic. Through those extremely difficult times, we as a group, I think we're really humbled and connected together in a very deep way relationally, and came out much stronger. So they were tough, and sometimes it was just, I think I read a thing of Winston Churchill's the other day, that success is going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. And if there's one thing I can encourage people on this call on, if you can keep going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm, if you can persevere, you will eventually get through. And going back to that verse I read, Brent, when I was at 10, Isaiah 43, it says, you'll walk through the fire and you'll not be burnt, and you'll walk through the water and you'll not be drowned. And that's something I really felt in my heart. I knew we were going through fire, and I knew we were going through water, but I also knew it was going to bring us through the other side. And he did every time. So, yeah, I think it just really built the relationship with God. The other thing, if I'm not talking too much, I just want to say one other quick thing on this note. It kind of also taught us, I read a beautiful poem about a boy, and I don't know, we've all had this experience, you go on a seaside holiday and you're building a sandcastle to fight the tide. So you're busy building with your dad and you're fighting the tide. But you know in time that the tide will actually take out the sandcastle. But so you build the sandcastle, you have a lot of fun, you stick feathers, you put shells, and you make it as big as you can. And then the sea wipes it out, and you go running back into the seaside cottage, and you have hot chocolate with your dad. And the one thing I learned about what we're doing on this earth, business we built, like the Egyptian empire was flattened by the tides of time. The Roman Empire was flattened by the tides of time. What we're building often on earth is a sandcastle, but the real thing that's happening is we're building this amazing friendship with our dad, with God. And so it also taught us, I think those difficult times taught us to realize that's actually the most important thing. We can have fun building our sandcastles, but ultimately they're not the real thing. There's something much bigger happening in the process, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And with me having put the words in your mouth, I'm going to now actually ask the question, because it's the relevant question. What do you feel is a Goliath or a giant that you've had to face in your life?
Sure. There's
End of question.
End of question. No, I think there's many. If I'll just tuck into one, which is linked to the David film, because I think as you step into the animated feature film worlds and you really want to make a movie that genuinely is going to compete with Pixar and Disney, you're dealing with companies that are decades old, have got billions of dollars, got an amazing distribution network. And to say that you're actually going to make a movie that's genuinely going to compete and genuinely going to stand up to those kind of movies is a Goliath, particularly when you look at, and it's not so much the budget, but if you look at those budgets, they're $150 to $200 million per movie. So, and the thing I love about Goliath, I love about the story, was the way Goliath was taunting David. He's like, really? You come against me with sticks and stones, do you think I'm a dog? So it feels a little bit as we walk into the film industry, the response is, really? You guys think you can make a movie that's going to genuinely compete? And we do. And we really believe that. So I think that's one of the giants we're on fighting right now, is making a movie that is that good, that will genuinely shoot the lights out and compete and really inspire the world. Yeah.
And I actually like that. Good answer. Well done, Phil. I like it because when that question is asked to people, it's a thing that we've been talking a lot about when David fought Goliath. David didn't approach Goliath timidly. He didn't go there with fear and wondering what the outcome was going to be. He went with confidence. And what you're talking about here is we are facing a Goliath, but we aren't fiery. We aren't afraid, because something has been birthed within you and birthed within us that we believe in, that we are going to be, so it's a wonderful, I just love that. The fact that you don't, like, facing a Goliath doesn't mean that you have to be afraid and timid. You can actually stand proud, with your chest out and point at him and say, yes, yes, I'm coming at you with sticks and stones, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Cool. Right, we've got like 10 minutes left. I just want to give people an opportunity to, if there are any questions from the chats, now's a good time to throw them up. Otherwise, I've got plenty more for Phil. Where will the upcoming David shorts be available to watch? Phil, I'm going to let you answer that.
Okay, so just so you guys know, we are still in discussion as to how we're going to go about that. One of our passions, hopefully, is to actually release them in cinema, and we've got a bit of a strategy behind that. But actually, we're in the middle of going through our plans on that, so it's not concrete yet how they'll come out. But they are being made at the same quality as the feature film in many ways. So they would literally play beautifully in cinema. So if there's a way where we can premiere them in cinema, each one's got a theme: warrior, shepherd, poet, king, worshipper. That would be our passion, is to try and release them in cinema. But watch our social media, watch the space. By early next year, we'll be making announcements about how they're going to be released and when they're going to be released. Yeah. And Sheila, thanks. I just saw a pledge there. Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly on the Minnow platform is where they'll be streamed ultimately, I believe, the shorts. And just to let people know also the shorts, we've got 5 animated shorts that are separate to the feature film that are in production. Right, how to become the part of production team of editing and animation? Good question, new gamers. And Kerry will be chomping at the bit. Like Kerry, who's our marketing manager, she gets inundated with people saying, can I be a voiceover? Can I write the songs? How do I become part of the team? Phil, how do people do that? Throw it your way again.
So it is hard, to be honest. It's a team it's very hard to get in on the team because we're already building it out. But if you go to our social media and ask, they will send. There's a form people can fill in and fill in their credentials. You can pick it up on Instagram or Facebook and ask the question there, and then you'll get sent the form, and you can fill it in there and see what. Yeah, and we will always do try to respond. So yeah.
So good luck, new gamers. When can we expect the first full trailer for the movie?
Okay, so I'd say we're aiming to release the movie in 2025. So what I would say about that is that the first trailer will be coming out, I'd say, well, the first full trailer would be like Q3 and Q4 of 2024 is probably when you'll start seeing the trailers for the movie. So Q3, Q4 of 2024 is what I would say. Yeah.
Guys, we're really dying to show you more stuff, but we just can't at this point. It's just too early days. But what I can say is it's looking amazing, and it's really exciting what's happening with the story, with the look. So stick with us. It's. I can't wait to show you the trailer, but it's going to be a long time still.
Yeah, but the shorts will be a really great way of getting the feeling of the movie. And Brent, there's one other thing I can just chime in on, is like going back to that question you asked at the beginning and that experience I had with God. I can't help but think that David had some kind of experience similar or parallel to that when he was out as a shepherd under the stars. So when we look at why I love his story, is one, yes, because I found in David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, and his heart of adventure and fun and connection with human beings and love is just amazing. But also, I think his story is one which means whoever you are as a human being, he was the least of the least. And in fact, when they were doing the anointing with Samuel, he wasn't even invited to the anointing. And so I love David's story because so many people around the world just feeling like, well, do I count? Does my life make a difference? And I think David's story is like, yes, he was a nobody. He was the least of the least, just like I was a nobody in Africa in the film industry. And David was a nobody. But when God works in your life, it can be incredible. And what I love about David, his courage to fight a lion, his courage to fight a bear, and then his courage to fight Goliath. It wasn't because he was macho, and it wasn't because he was, like this naturally just incredibly brave person. I really believe it was because under those stars and being a shepherd, he connected with God. And that was his superpower. And I think, Brent, you actually said it once, Superman's got his cape, Spider-Man's got his thing. If you think about it, David was an ordinary person, but his superpower was his faith in God. And that's why I hope people watch this movie and walk away inspired to fight their giants, take on their giants, because it's not the size of the giant, it's the size of the God who David believed in that really made the difference. And I just think his life can just show anybody, and that's that verse I found in David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. And I'm going to come to answer that question, actually, it's just popped up. It's a great question. But what I love about David's story, he's accessible as a person, Brent. All of us are Davids, and all of us can take on lions and bears and giants in our lives. Just like him. He was just an ordinary person who connected. And that's what I love about his story.
I've got one more thing to say, but I think you should maybe just go ahead and answer this question, then I'd like to share one thing.
Yeah. As young watchers, what can we do to support the David movie? I just want to say firstly, which is not really answering your question, but what I want to say is this movie is being made for everyone, but it's specifically and more importantly made for the younger generation. You guys are the new generation of Davids. You are the next Davids. And so this movie is there to inspire the younger watchers. And I think the way younger watchers can support is, well, one, chat to God, and because he listens to young people, and just really talk to him and ask him for help for this movie. But I think in the right, on social media platforms which you're allowed to be on, is to connect and give comments and thoughts. And we've get a lot of feedback from, I've been Brent the other day, you and I had a letter from someone, their dad sent us the letter they'd written. And we just love hearing from younger viewers, just their thoughts and like, are you doing this? And their questions. So even if you ask your parents just to get us those questions through social media, we love hearing the questions from that younger generation. Because although this movie is made for 0 to 94, the bullseye is the younger watchers. I can say that. That's who we really want to inspire. Yeah.
The one thought that came to mind for me, just going back to that key moment when you finished The Legend of the Sky Kingdom and you were offered money and said no because you wanted to remain the head and not the tail. And there were the 3 times that you hit the brick wall of having no money. And it was when you tell the stories of this, it's hard. You can't sort of get across the real weight of that you must have been under during that time. But the fact that you had made a decision early on to be the head, not the tail, it is more important to be in control of the stories that we were telling than for us, even if Sunrise fell apart, you'd rather that than be telling someone else's story, you know. And I think the fact that you've made that decision and you believed in that decision is the sort of thing that helps you when you come against that challenge. It's like you can lean on that. You're like, I know when I was lucid, I know when I was clear that my decision was to not sell out, to not, to not be the tail. I've had that personally in my own life where I've believed in something and made a decision, and things have gotten really hard. And if I hadn't made that decision prior, then I would have made a bad decision during. It's that thing of don't go to the shops when you're hungry. You know, like decide beforehand. What are you going to buy? Get your list or whatever. And I don't know if someone out there needs to hear that, but it's a thing that just came to mind now. So you look like you wanted to touch on it.
No, that's amazing, Brent. And one thing I wanted to just cue off quickly on that was it links that because we've actually had opportunity on the David movie to go down a different pathway and get finance a different way. But again, going back to Legend of the Sky Kingdom, it would have meant sacrificing over creative control to entities. And that's why I'm so excited as we talk to the crowd. I just think we've got a chance to revolutionize storytelling and the way, because the creative spirit is so squashed and boardroom driven and agenda driven in our generation. And I think we've got this incredible opportunity with crowdfunding to invite you guys to be on the journey, on the adventure with us. And anyway, my point is, through crowdfunding, your creators can really stay creative and stay in control. That's what really excites me about where we're going with David. It's so out of the box. And interesting enough, Brent, we were talking about that when David went to the Valley of Eli, they tried to put all Saul's armor on him. And I was recently at the Cannes Film Festival. And, there's this thing where people, with the best intention, are trying to put armor on you to fight the battle. But David had to take the courage to take off that armor and go and fight with what he knew was authentic. And what excites me about the way we're making this movie, I think it's going to carry such a beautiful spirit. We're talking about it today, that Neil Diamond song that says, money talks, but it can't sing and dance and it can't walk. And I think what's going to come out of this David movie is a beautiful spirit and authenticity and soul. Anyway, it comes from what you're saying, not selling out creative control, but being passionate about that. And I'm so excited about what Angel Studios are doing and the crowdfunding route, because I think it's going to make creatives fly. I mean, us with David, but beyond us as well. I think there's going to be some beautiful stories that come out of this kind of funding,
Yeah, Yeah, it's great. And I just remember, I got so swept away. I've just remembered there's one more video we need to play, so we must wrap this up, Phil. So
Yeah.
I'll tee it up, but it's been a blast. It's been fantastic chatting, and I'll see you when I come upstairs after this. But
Thank you guys.
through this journey, I'll let you say thanks now. But through this journey, we've just met some such incredible people through the live streams that have given of their time, told us their stories, and have really bought into the vision of this project. And we want to just share some messages from them, messages of encouragement for the project, messages of their intent to support the project as well. And it's just been so wonderful to see that community building as well, and to just get the support of like-minded people who are sharing the project far and wide with and for us. So I'll let Phil say goodbye, but we're going to close out with that video. And you'll recognize some of those faces because they're some known people. But Phil, I don't know what you want to say to close, and then we can go to that.
No, Brent, I just want to say thank you. I mean, I know you've spoken and you've Q&A'd me a lot, but I just want to say Brent has been an incredible fellow adventurer and Spartan on the journey. I can't even start to say what an amazing part you've played in the journey, Brent, but just thank you. And thanks to all of you tonight today for joining us, and we'd love you to join us on this adventure. So go to angel.com/David, and you can find out so much more about the project there, and we'd love you to join us on this adventure. Thank you for listening and taking time. Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.
Hey, I'm Dallas Jenkins. I'm the creator of The Chosen. Sometimes I like to tell people to come and see other projects as well. And one project that has really caught my eye, and I actually invested in it early on, is David. It's the animated musical. Animated musicals are what I grew up on, and the notion that a Bible story like this, in the hands of people who are skilled, talented, professional, being done in the same way and at the same quality level as what I grew up watching, is really exciting. So
Hey, what's up, guys? So excited to announce that I am so fortunate to get to be a part of such an exciting project. In the David movie, I had the chance to be an executive producer in this with amazing people. Sunrise Studios out of South Africa. We're a little biased because Demi's from South Africa. We love it. They're amazing people. And it's just something I'm so honored to be a part of. Right when they told me and I got to see the trailer, and I just thought, man, this is incredible, because all of us can relate to the story of David, and, in the good and the bad and everything in between. And I just think it's going to be such an encouragement to so many people. So
curious to see how faith played such a huge part of what gave David his strength. They already know that, but to see it come up on the big screen, animated, will be a big deal for them. And they don't know that I'm doing this interview, and they don't really know about this, but when I tell them, they're going to flip out. So walk out going, you know what, I can get through. Through all the stuff that David went through. And what I do love about the Psalms is I do love the humanity part of it. One day he's right here, and oh God, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh gosh, where are you? As Rita said. But to be able to walk out and go, you know what, I can get through whatever trial or circumstance I'm going through. I can get through it, and God is on my side. God was on David's side. God's on my side, and he's going to see me through, whether I feel it, whether I can see it. As the song Waymaker says, even if I can't see it, you're working. Even if I don't feel it, you're working. I'm sure David had the same things that he went through, probably on a daily basis.
That little 5-minute video that started this live stream, that's what did it. I saw it the first time, and I actually wept. It just touched me so much. I wept through the end of it, and it's such a beautiful story in that little 5 minutes. And I thought, well, if that's just 5 minutes worth, what could they do with the whole movie?
Hey guys! You might know us as a couple that makes funny videos on the internet, but today, we're not joking. We're talking about something we're actually super excited about. You know the story of David and Goliath?
Of course, the little kid with the sling, big giant.
Yeah, that guy. Angel Studios, the production company that brought us The Chosen, which is actually, I'm wearing their merch right now.
Big fans.
Favorite TV show at the moment. They are partnering with Sunrise Animation Studios to make a movie about David! I'm super pumped about it because it is my favorite Bible character.
Politicians and rulers and leaders never shape culture. They react to negative dynamics in culture. And when they react, they create boundaries and rules and regulations and laws for the world to run on. But they never shape culture. Tell you who shapes culture? Songwriters do. Poets do. The creatives do, because they don't just have access to the intellect, they have access to the heart. And they get to put things in the world that speaks to the spirit and awakens people to what they're born to be. Music and poetry comes to your life. It doesn't tell you what to do and how to do it. It awakens who you are. And so God used David to awaken Israel to be who they were really supposed to be. And there had been no worship in the days of Saul. But hey, he was looking for one that was after his own heart. And David is the only person that God
I would love to just see that relationship of faith and trust, you know, come through vibrantly in the film, because it's what I can't move from when I read about the life of David. I'm like, man, I want that kind of faith. I want to be moved to trust the Lord no matter what happens in my life. And when things don't make sense, I want to just be able to say, nope, God can do it. God can do it. Doesn't matter how I feel right now, God can do it. So if the film breeds that kind of a thing where you walk away from it being like, whoa, I need that kind of faith. I need that kind of trust and belief in God. I think that'd be amazing.
At the beginning of this, when it showed the video of him going after that sheep and throwing his life, he launches himself off a cliff. And I was like, I actually think David would have done that. You know, he's like, because he puts himself in danger, but he cannot listen to what other people think about him. And as a dad, that's one of the most powerful things you can really instill into your children is like, what does God say about you? And let's just respond out of that, because people are always, they're not always going to see it. Sometimes they speak out of their own fear or their own insecurities. And I want to, you know, I see that in David where he just steps out. He's like, I'm going to come after these sheep. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to rescue them. And when my brother tries to put me down, I'm actually going to save him too.
Hello, it's Nick Vujicic. As a father of 4 children, let me tell you right now, we often talk about Bible stories, but especially David and Goliath. I'm so excited because I believe this David project is going to blow away everyone's expectation of how incredibly a Bible story will change and impact people's lives worldwide.
How did I get here? Do you know the story of David and Goliath? David, he had to overcome Goliath. He did the slingshot, took down Goliath.
Yeah.
What might be a Goliath that you want to overcome?
Getting my driver's license.
That can be really hard. Are you ready to overcome that? Come with me. Come on.
Okay.
It's time for you to be a David. Write your Goliath down.
What in the world is that?
Oh, it's a car. You're going to overcome this right now. You ready?
I'm going to wear these for safety. See if you can sling these water balloons at your Goliath.
Are you ready to be a David? This is your Goliath. Conquer him. You know what? Just throw it. Step up here and get... Oh. I am David.
I am David.
These awesome people overcame their Goliaths just like David did long ago. And you can help bring the David story to life in a new animated feature with Angel Studios. Check the link in my bio or the link down below. Now, go be a David.